word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Our Take is our web show. Say hi. What's your number one program that you want to take care of?
First thing we got to do, we got to get the economy back on track. Inflation under control. We can't be having $4 gasoline. We can't be having groceries unaffordable. We got to get the economy working for all Montanans again.
CEO Dana White, 45, soon to be 47, President-elect Donald Trump.
He did the Trump dance. He did the Trump dance.
Also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it. We have 30,000 beds in Guantanamo.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Just Our Take. I'm your host, John, and this is my co-host, Dave. How's it going tonight, Dave?
You know, it's going good, John. It's going good. We're back in our house. Spent the day moving stuff, fixing lights. It's not 100%, but we're back in.
Awesome. It's got to be a good feeling.
It's a good feeling. It'll be even better at the end of the month when everything's cleaned up and all the dust is gone and we're back to what might feel like normal. But yeah, otherwise, fantastic day. Beautiful sunshine out today. Just absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, not here, but we'll get into that. Can you give us a disclaimer first?
Yes, welcome to Just Our Take. As the title implies, this is our opinion. This is our point of view. You may or may not agree. If you don't agree, that's okay with us. Just let us know in the comments. Feel free. If we think we got it wrong, we're happy to learn from you. So please put that in the comments. Other than that, this is just our point of view, our take.
How long have you been out of your house, Dave?
How long have I been out of my house? Since November 19th. So 6 months-ish. Unbelievable. Yeah, very long time.
You know, it's really expensive. I mean, it's expensive living out in, well, I'll just let Michelle tell you.
to live in the White House.
Please,
Many
Michelle.
people don't know. I mean, much is not covered. You're paying for every bit of food that you eat. You're not paying for housing and the staff in it, but everything, even travel. If you're not traveling with the president, if your kids are coming on a Bright Star, which is the First Lady's plane, we had to pay for their travel to be on the plane. It is an expensive proposition, and you're running for 2 years and not earning an income. So all of that was in my mind. How would we manage this? My fears came from the fact that I thought he could win, but I knew he had it in him to make this happen.
Yeah, they're worth $1 billion by some estimates, and we should feel bad that they had to live in that poor White House.
I'm so sad for her. They're $3 million, multi-million-dollar mansions and book deals, and I don't know, money flowing out of every orifice. I mean, I'm so sad for her him. And
talk about completely out of touch. Good Lord.
Such a rough life.
It's no wonder that her podcast is failing.
No, it's not failing. Define failing. Never mind. Don't define failing. Fact is, no one cares about her podcast.
Exactly. Hey, so a lot on the show tonight, David, and I know that we do have a time crunch tonight because of factors outside of our control. I was going to say was we had 83 degree weather here. The missus and I went up to the college rodeo, which, by the way, is always a blast. And while we're at the college rodeo in the closest near Big Town, we had an absolute storm come through. I mean, high winds, thunder, lightning. We had hail. They had to delay the rodeo for a little bit. The first time I've seen that happen, but boy, it was. And then, gosh, as quick as it happened, it cleared right up, and we had bright sunny skies and finished off the rodeo. So it was a good time by all. And I love Marie's comment here. Yeah, I guess the chef was too expensive.
Well, chef probably asked for a raise, or maybe saw something he wasn't supposed to see, actually. John, I know you have a few things on your mind. I do want to share. There's a lot going on. We're only going to cover a couple, but let me read you just a small sampling of the headlines. Okay.
Yeah. Hit them.
Okay. In no particular order. Zelensky rejects the peace deal, threatens to attack Russian Victory Day celebration May 9th. That would be a mistake. Marco Rubio now heads the Secretary of State, Director of National Intelligence, USAID administration, and the U.S. Archivist. This guy's busy. I think he's going to wish he was a senator again. It was a much easier job. The DOJ launched an investigation into Soros-backed Hennepin country attorney over radical race-based plea deal policies. Crooked New York attorney. Now, who knows she's crooked? New York attorney, including me, New York Attorney General Letitia James launched another lawsuit against the Trump administration amid her mounting legal troubles. President Trump to build a world-class ballroom in the White House using his own funds. Crazy. Trump close to sealing the trade deal forced by tariffs. India deal would be a game changer. Sovereignty, am I saying his name right? Sovereignty wins the 151st running of the Kentucky Derby, where every horse was a descendant of the Great Secretariat.
How crazy was that?
That is crazy.
19 horses, all of them a descendant of Secretariat. I thought that was amazing.
That is amazing. Trump signs an order ending government funding of NPR and PBS. It's about time. Let them figure it out on their own. And then Anthony, I'm saying his name wrong, I'm sure, Albanese wins the Australian federal election. The Labour Party wins again. I think it's the first time in 21 years that the leader in Australia has won back-to-back. So he won in a landslide, by the way.
Because they finally figured out how the Americans are doing the cheating. That's how.
There is actually a lot of speculation that they're missing about 6 million votes in the final tally, but I couldn't validate that. So I didn't make that a story tonight. And then Trump is ordering the reopening of Alcatraz for violent offenders. Now, you've been to Alcatraz. I have too. I'm trying to imagine what that's like, reopened and modernized, and we'll have to wait to see what that's like. But if they do, will they continue to keep it as a tourist attraction? That's my question.
I think you should. I mean, let's go see all of the crooked politicians on display at the Alcatraz Museum.
Yes. I wondered if they get like a special cell. Like, will they have like carpeting in there and TV and everything, or will it be like prison?
He didn't say refurbish and modernize. He said reopen.
Oh, God. Look, for anyone who hasn't been to Alcatraz, when you go there, you'll recognize, like, you step backwards in time for sure. But it's what you imagine. If I've never been to jail, so I have no idea what it's really like, but it's what I imagine jail to be: cold, dark, concrete. Clearly, I think they have their solitaire. It's like this tiny room and it's pitch black. They let you go in there for the experience.
It's old. It's old. It's beat up. It's interesting that he would say that. There's got to be a reason. I think it's messaging, and I can't wait to find out what's going on. I want to jump in, Dave, because
let's go.
This one is hot, and we've been talking about this the last couple of weeks. In fact, probably the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've had this one somewhere in our agenda, and it's really starting to gain traction across the internet. I'd like to say that we're a little bit ahead of the curve, and so we're going to dig in. But this Muslim thing is not going away. In fact, it's being opened up wide open. So let's dig in.
Quran and Sunnah, which is Sharia. We will. If there is a contradiction between the Constitution and Sharia,
yes. The way that we will deal with that, inshallah, is through the electoral process. We will run candidates, inshallah, wherever Muslims live, and inshallah, we'll get to.
You're not the majority. No, that's what I'm saying. We will have, inshallah, not yet, but we will have. That's why I'm running for commissioner. That's why, inshallah, we need, more Muslims in him ينتخبوا commissioners, senators, congressmen, whatever, political, in cities, in the big government, small government,
In Dearborn, they already have control.
Yeah, Dearborn, where are you going now?
You'll see in Dearborn, they already have control over the city. Yeah, so it's not impossible. It will take time. That's why the strategy is a long-term strategy.
I can be very confident to tell you that we are on the road to the White House, to the Congress, to the decision-making everywhere in the United States. 40 years ago, we had a mayor for this town who talks about the Arab problem. Guess what? The Arabs are ruling Dearborn and Dearborn Heights and Hampshire.
Muslims from across the state will gather in Lansing for the annual Michigan Muslim Capital Day. They'll be meeting with lawmakers to talk about civic engagement and inspiring young Muslims to run for office.
Arizona Muslim Alliance was joined by the Arizona chapter of the Council of American Islamic Relations, otherwise known as CARE Arizona, for Muslim Day at the Capitol. Participants, including students and business leaders, spent the day learning about the political process and engaging in discourse with state representatives and senators.
This is what America looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what America looks like. This is what America looks like. Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. No bans, no walls. America is home.
Line goes really far back. We have about 400 to 500 individuals that are going to be advocating for legislation, advocating with our members of Congress to really support not only the American Muslim community, but progressive policies that would positively impact all of our communities.
Join us at the annual Florida Muslim Capital Day, where we will meet with elected officials in Tallahassee.
This is our 6th Muslim Day at the Capitol. We have been consistent, and we have had more than 200 attendees for 6 years in a row.
We're here because we all believe in the same thing: equal access and opportunities for Oklahomans of all faith and cultural backgrounds and protection of our fundamental freedoms.
For a lot of people and a lot of students coming here to the Capitol, it's their very first time ever interacting with people who represent them, seeing how the process works in the first place.
Okay, so don't get me wrong. We are a country based on religious freedom. Freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. However, we've got more to this story. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the rest of the story.
We're done hiding. We're done. We're done being tortured and hurt and judged. This is the correct religion. This is the religion that all of humanity needs to be upon, of Islam. And we will not stop until it enters every home. So I want you to repeat after me. I want to hear it in every single district. It should tremble. Brooklyn should hear it. The Bronx should hear it. Queens should hear it. Say it as if the Ummah depends on this, my brothers and sisters. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God worthy of worship except Allah, the God of Jesus, the God of Moses, the God of Abraham, and the God of the last and final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We're done hiding.
Okay. Are we starting to get the point across? I will put these links out there. The other thing that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be posting all of these on the Just Our Take X page, as well as the Just Our Take Facebook page. So I will post those links here, but I will also post them in those other social media areas.
The thing I don't understand is, and you mentioned it's not just religious tolerance. It's the it goes beyond that. It's we are meant to be a country that honors and extends the privilege, the rights of religious freedom in our country. But that does not mean, and I think this is what you were saying, it does not mean that you have the right to force it upon others or to deliberately change the makeup so that you can cause your religion to have some sort of an advantage. And I know some will say, well, that's true for Christianity today, and the early settlers were Christian, and okay, you could go back in time and you could make the argument, but the values, the Judeo-Christian values, don't necessarily contradict the cultural norms and values that this country has been established itself and been successful with over the last several hundred years. But to say we're going to change the makeup of this country and instill a different set of laws, by the way, we've seen the blueprint behind what those societies look like, right? We've seen it. Some of it's a little oppressive, right? If you think about some of the countries that
some of it, David,
I'm walking the line.
We do not have the privilege of being nice about this anymore. The difference is, and Maria touched on it, our country's based on a Christian nation. Actually, our country was founded on Judeo-Christian values. It's all over the founding. If we played the Charlie Kirk video a while back, where in the beginning, if you wanted to serve in any form of the government in the beginning, you had to take a vow to your Christianity, to your faith. And if you look all over, there's a great book out there that was written by Newt Gingrich, and it talks about discovering God in America, and it talks about all the places. And we've talked about this before. Every Supreme Court session starts with a prayer, and it is a Christian prayer. There are so many things that just do not. They do not play well with religions that hate other religions. They do not play well with religions that are exclusive to other religions. And I've got more clips to play that'll show you what their plans are. Their plans are to not just take over as the primary religion, but to destroy all other religions.
And my question is why? Why is this so important? You have many places around the world that you can go to today that you have already created what you might consider to be the ideal environment. Why is this the target? Or why do you want to create that here? You have many places where you have exactly what you're looking for. It's already established, and it exists today. Why here? Why does it have to be here too?
Well, and I think that your question answers itself. Why aren't they in Riyadh? Why aren't they in Lebanon? Why aren't they? They're coming here because it is a conquering religion. They're not here to spread the faith. They're here to conquer with the faith. So let me just jump in here.
Go ahead. Keep going
with this guy. You're going to love this one. Sorry, wrong one.
We are buying these churches. We bought 3 churches so far, converted them to masjids, and now we have one we are buying with a school to make it, because we have to serve the same people. The people who were part of that community, one day they will be Muslims. So we'll make it into a masjid and an Islamic school for our children and their children, inshallah. 100 years ago, they invaded the Muslim world and they built missionary schools and destroyed Islamic schools and masjids. Today, we bring the favor back, turn their churches into masjids and their schools into Islamic schools. Bring the light of Islam to here. We're able to buy ready to go institutions that have been there for a long time, but they emptied out. And now it is time to be filled with Muslims, with reverts, converts. This is an election year, but we're not going to be happy with either candidate. We have to be happy when Islam becomes the best candidate for us. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give Islam the victory in this country.
So it's retribution. It's because 100 years ago, and that you're seeking retribution for what happened 100 years ago. Okay.
More than that. More than that. Now, this is also, again, it's also in their Quran that they're supposed to conquer. It's they keep on talking about, it's a religion of peace, of love, of harmony. Have you seen the videos of Sharia? I'm not going to play them on here because they're disgusting. But there are videos out there today where you have a group of men, probably 10 men, beating a single woman because she talked back to her husband.
Yeah. John, years ago, I visited Israel when I was in college. And the day we went to the market, and we were told to be careful because the weekend before, there was a young girl murdered, unalived. She was unalived by her father. And you might ask, why? What would cause somebody to unalive their daughter? Well, it turns out that she was accused of, it's alleged that she had premarital relations. And you know what I'm talking about when I say relations. And because of that, because of the shame, that her punishment, and it was expected of the family, her punishment was to be unalived. And as a Westerner, of course, as a young Westerner, it just shocked me. I can't even get my head around that. I get it that, although who waits for marriage? It seems like most people don't. But at the same time, in that part of the world, not waiting for marriage means, death. It was incredible.
Well, isn't it also incredible that it was the woman that took the brunt, not the man?
Yeah, the man did not. It's not the man's fault. It's, and there's all kinds of rhetoric. I'm not being facetious or funny when I say that. It was explained to me how it was her fault by somebody who was being very serious about it. This is the way they see it. This is their perspective, and that's the way it is. And this was the punishment. By the way, in Israel, it's still illegal to do that to somebody. So the father did stand trial. I have no idea what the outcome was.
So in Manchester, Muslims demand locals don't walk their dogs in public because it's a violation of Sharia and it disrespects them.
Oh, I didn't know that was an issue.
you can't walk your dog in Manchester because it offends these immigrants who moved to Manchester, England, left their place where it was safe. There's no dogs. There's no, uncovering of unclean women in public. They left that place for Manchester, where now they're going to demand that you don't walk your dog.
Yeah. John, the number of videos and messages, and I know that it's very risky right now. If you're in the UK, it's very risky to post anything publicly. That might be considered a hate crime to put something out there that is maybe goes in the face of this growing community of people. But there's more and more and more that's showing up. It's incredible. It's like it's accelerating.
Well, I can tell you that I guarantee I am on a list. I can't go to the UK now because of our show and this particular episode of our show. But if that's,
this is it. I'm on the banned list too now.
Sounds like it keeps me safe. But I have another video to show you here.
All right, go.
In schools, they're pressuring us to learn about Islam and learn about the people that are coming over. I don't want to learn about that. I want to learn about my culture, my beliefs, and I'm proud to be English.
Have they taught you about the Bill of Rights?
No.
Did you learn about the Battle of Agincourt?
No. In school, they were teaching us about Islam, about Prophet Muhammad, and all their ideologies. They barely covered Christianity at all.
Did they tell you about how he was a warlord who brutally murdered people?
They wouldn't say any of that. And when I tried to stand up and say that some of them things, I would get in trouble for it. Suspended from school because apparently I was being racist. I wasn't. I was just trying to,
You're questioning an ideology.
Yes, I was questioning the ideology, and in my opinion, it's not the right ideology. They're trying to take away my free speech in school. They're trying to silence me in school, suspend me from school for, trying to stand up and discuss stuff about Islam, the wrongs of it. They only say, Islam's a peaceful religion, but if you look into their book, you'll find out it's not.
I apologize for the noisy video there, but it had to be played because that's happening right now. In Texas, there was a man wearing a Christian-themed T-shirt in the area where Muslims were gathering, and the local police told him to remove the shirt or leave the area because it was offensive. In Texas.
Oh my God! Yeah. By the way, I've seen several posts from the UK where in classrooms now they're being taught about Islam. And I don't know the rules in the UK about teaching religion in school. I can say confidently in the US, in public schools, you don't have prayer sessions. You may learn that there is Christianity and Judaism and Islam, but you don't learn about the teachings in any of those, right? It's an awareness about it, but it's not a teaching of it. And it seems like more and more it's coming out from the UK specifically, where there's teachings of it in the classrooms and it's compulsory.
I would say it's coming here. And I would say that there are parts of the country where it already is here. And I think that it's probably not too far off where we have to retrofit our school buses.
Oh, geez. I hope not.
I'm all for it. If you need to.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's make it happen.
That's brutal.
Let's see, Mikhail. I saw a video of a Muslim man marching into a Catholic church during a full mass, laying down his carpet and starting to pray. That is just offensive. We would no more do that in the middle of a mosque. And if they did, I think that it would be a horrible thing to do.
It would be absolutely, it would be a very insulting and very indignant. It would not be okay.
It's what I said. It's not about peace and it's not about conversion. This is about conquering. I think that the good news is this is making a lot of press. There's a lot of people talking about it. And we do have a constitution that is supposed to protect us against this. However, I'm going to bring it next Wednesday, but there was a quote from one of our own senators where he is calling on Allah to help him win the next. And this is the farthest senator that you would think. We're not talking about one of the most obvious ones. I won't give you a hint because I want to show you the video.
Dang.
But he's gone on Allah to help him win the next election.
Well,
I
maybe he's trying to reach his constituents. He's trying to reach the people.
Yeah, and he wouldn't dare say, if the good Lord is willing and if Jesus Christ is on my side. No, he wouldn't say that. Anyway.
And when you do say that, do you remember back a few years, by the way, actually it was in the last administration where weren't some of the Catholic churches on the domestic terror watch list because Catholicism was considered potentially a radical group of people.
Well, because they were to protest abortions. That's what was going on. They were protesting abortions, and this is a long video. I will send a link to this. I'm just going to let a little bit of it show, just so that we can kind of get the flavor for it. I will put this link in the chat here as well as on our other socials. But let's go ahead and take a quick gander at this.
I think that the Obama FBI wanted to make an example of us and have us dead to show to the American people, look, this is what's going to happen to you if you dare to criticize Islam, or if you dare to go against the blasphemy laws that we are acquiescing to in the West.
This is Vlad with rarefoundation.com, and we have the privilege of being here with Robert Spencer, probably the most effective and knowledgeable explainer of Islam to the English-speaking world. Robert Spencer was one of the principal people in the event of which the 10th anniversary is May 3rd, 2025, the jihadi terrorist attack in Garland, Texas. First of all, Robert, thank you very much for coming here and helping us remind the world about what took place in Garland, Texas. And we'd like to start by asking you what your role was in the cartoon contest.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, Vlad, that you would ask that, because even to this day, I get people saying, did you know that there was a ISIS attack at an event in Texas? And I was one of the organizers. But as it happened, a lot of the coverage, for whatever reason, didn't mention that I was involved at all, which is fine. But nonetheless, I was indeed the co-organizer of the contest. It was actually the officially called and I see this done wrong pretty much everywhere, but the official title of the event was the American Freedom Defense Initiative and Jihad Watch Muhammad Art Exhibit and Cartoon Contest.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. The group that he is a member of, RAIR, they are the ones that are really doing everything they can to bring this to the forefront, let everybody know just the seriousness of the growth and existence that's going on here. I have another I know it's going to amaze you, but this is Charlie Kirk.
Charlie.
Bubbling up for quite some time, and it's happening in the great state of Texas. It's a little bit of a third rail topic. Some people would say it's politically incorrect. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to dive into why this is happening. That sounds like a perfect story for the Charlie Kirk Show. When I first read it, I'll be honest, I didn't believe it. I said, this sounds like it's being exaggerated. Some people are trying to get clicks. But the more I studied it and the more I researched it, the more real it is. Now, the story actually harmonizes with the tragic news of the death of my friend, David Horowitz. And David Horowitz passed away yesterday, a legend who warned his entire career that if you keep on importing Muslims and Mohammedans, they're going to try and create their own communities that are not welcome with Western values. They are going to try to implement Sharia, and that Western civilization is incompatible with Islam. That was his main contention. And we'll play some pieces of tape from David Horowitz later in the show. He is a legend of a man, truly. So what's going on in Texas, of all places? Mind you, this is not New York. This is not California. This is Texas. And as you know, Texas Republicans are rather weak at times. They don't really know how to fight. Well, Muslims in Texas are looking to build their own epic city. Literally, it's called Epic City. The East Plano Islamic Center, deep in the heart of Texas. It's in the northeast suburbs of Dallas. The plan right now is for these Mohammedans to build a 402-acre community in the Dallas suburbs. For reference, that's about 4 times the size of Disneyland. It would have over 1,000 homes, a K-12 school, a college, retail stores, and of course, a mosque. Now let me pause here. When's the last time Christians decided to do this? Christians should build communities like this. I look at the master plan here and I say, despite the fact that their worldview is toxic and that they want to destroy the West, you got to give them respect. It's well designed. It's well configured. They're here to spread their value system to the West. And we're like, oh, well, you know, religious freedom. Really? Did the founding fathers have in mind Mohammedans coming to the great state of Texas or one of our states to build an exclusive city for Muslims? The idea is that this would all be on private property, so it could exist as a dedicated Islamic area. Developers claim the area will be open to all, which of course is rubbish, though we know and we get the feeling anybody moving in would find themselves not very welcome. America has freedom of religion, of course, but we should be frank. Large, dedicated Islamic areas are a threat to America. We've seen how this unfolds in Europe. There are massive, huge no-go zones in major European cities in Britain and in France and in Sweden. Those are real. You're not allowed to talk about them, but they are real. The police stay out of things. In no-go zones, Islamic values reign supreme. Blasphemy laws, for example. If you dare question the Prophet Muhammad, they will come after you. Free speech is not an Islamic value. Free expression is not an Islamic value. It's actually the exact opposite. Submission is an Islamic value. That's literally what Islam means. Islam has conquest values. They seek to take over land and territory. And Europe is now a conquered continent. It is not what it used to be. It's a husk of its former self, which is increasingly Mohammedan. So what are core Islamic values? Again, look at what happens when you're run under Sharia law. And remember, under Islam, it is a requirement that believers try to get their societies to run on Sharia law. There are other takeaways here. The fact that this is even a possibility shows how our leaders, including Republicans in Texas, have for decades facilitated the great replacement of Americans with foreigners who hold dramatically and drastically different values. If your enemies are dumb enough to let you in, then you go in and you gradually build your numbers until you dominate them. Why are we putting up with this? Do we really need an extra 500,000 people coming in to build their own Islamic city? One of which, the architect behind it said, I'm going to read the quote here, that this is going to be a Muslim-only space. Then he had to backpedal that a little bit. Now, this is getting a lot of attention. Now, we were fed the line about America saying, well, they're going to assimilate. Instead, they're building Islamic cities. And I say this as somebody who actually, my primary care doctor is Muslim. I know plenty of good Muslims. We're not talking about individual Muslims that are good people. Instead, I'm talking about institutional Islam. Of course, there are good individual Muslims. We all know them. They can be sweet, they can be charitable, they can be honoring. I trust him so much with my own personal health. And Dr. Zuhdi Jasser has assimilated, in fact, so much so he speaks out against stuff like this. He's trying to lead a reformation within Islam, and good luck with that, as I always tell him. I hope you are successful. It's very rare. He has very different values from a lot of Muslims, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. In fact, we're going to have him on the program again soon to talk about this, and he speaks out against Hamas. He speaks against Iran. He is a model of what I hope more American Muslims would be. We are not seeing that in the West, though. He is a rarity. He is an exception.
I'm going to leave it at that. he hit the main points that I wanted to hit, and that is, you know, their real goal is conquering, to take over, to force others to assimilate, force others to acquiesce to their way of thinking. I've changed my mind. I'm going to go ahead and show the U.S. senator that invokes Allah. Here you go, John Cornyn, your very favorite, your very own.
Yeah, he's my fave.
Of the party and of our hopefully majority come November. The truth is, we're going to have some very heavy lifting to do with the expiration of the individual tax rates and the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It'd be if it expires as President Biden said he wants to expire, that's a tax increase on 62% of taxpayers. And so we're going to have to go from occasionally voting no to stop bad things to voting yes, because that's what the price of governing is. They have to build consensus and vote yes.
Regardless of what happens in the leadership race, are you certain that you will run for re-election in 2020?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah. Do you think God willing.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. Senator, what does it cost?
Inshallah.
What does it cost?
Inshallah. Inshallah.
What does it cost?
Inshallah.
What does it cost?
Ron,
for your
pandering, John. It's
pandering.
I mean, it's acquiescing. I don't know. I think he's pandering. But going back to the previous video for a minute, I think Charlie Kirk said a few things that many of us probably. I'll say I personally go through too. Right? I meet people. You meet people from all over the world. The people that you and I meet, with almost no exception, they just want to make their way through life. They want to have their family, their community. They want to have great friends. They want to enjoy life, have some entertainment. They're not here to conquer. They're here to be part of the community. And that includes people that are Muslim. And I've met, and I know many people that are Muslim, and I can't imagine a scenario where there was a different side of them than what I experience when I interact with them, which is exactly what I just described. We work together, we talk, we're entertained together, we eat together, and you know what? They just want to be part of the community. I think it's what Charlie Kirk was saying. Now, I get it. There is, and just like there's extremists in any of our, in any of the religious communities, there's extremists as well, right? We know that. This group of people, and apparently they're a large group, right? And it's growing, have a different mission. And that mission isn't even necessarily congruent with the people, the other Muslims that just want to live their life. They're not looking to conquer or become part of some conquering force. They just want to enjoy their families and their freedoms and everything that comes along with it. There's going to be some friction there too, because that's not what they're looking for. I imagine.
I think that you should probably take another look. I'm not saying every single one, because obviously Charlie Kirk's own doctor feels differently. However, you didn't get Dearborn peacefully. Dearborn, they came in, they pushed their way to the front, they outpopulated the area, they made their way to and now there are parts of Dearborn that are under Sharia law. That's not because a small minority decided that they wanted to have it their way. That's definitely not the case. I would just say do some more studying on the quote religion of peace.
Yeah, well, and we've heard, I don't know about Dearborn, but in the UK, there have been plenty of studies on the no-go zones, right? Where if you're not part of that community, you don't get to go in there. Even the police don't go there. It's a no-go zone.
In an upcoming segment, we're going to talk about the no-go zones here in America. And there are some already. I've got some videos of it. I've got people being stopped in these no-go zones and escorted out of the area. And again,
yikes.
These are areas where there's no reason why they should. It's not like you snuck onto the grounds of Riviera Country Club and they're escorting you off. That's not the case at all. This is the entire community where the only requirement is that you are a Muslim. So changing gears just a little bit. what do you say? Yeah, how can federal law permit? It can't. And we've talked about this. It's a great question, Miguel. The very basis of Sharia law is repugnant to the Constitution, and it cannot stand unless we allow it to. And if what they said, you have to remember what the first interview the guy said. We will work our way into the highest levels of government, and if they do that, wouldn't it be? And again, we're not talking they're going to do it next week. But, David and I were talking earlier. There are groups that look at the watch, and there are groups that look at the calendar. That group looks at the long calendar, and they're not talking tomorrow. They're talking 20, 50, 100 years from now. But if we allow them to do it, it will happen.
Yeah, we plan quarter to quarter, right? From earnings report to earnings report. We plan semester to semester for the senators and for congressmen. Whereas there are groups like China. China is not looking to, how do they evolve for the current generation? They're looking generations out. They're looking 100 years out, 200 years out. It's a very different mindset than what we have in the U.S.
Okay, so shifting gears dramatically here, but something else that will make your blood boil. Jesse Waters had the opportunity to sit down with Elon Musk and the DOGE team, the entire DOGE team. The DOGE team has their meetings at 10 o'clock every night, 7 days a week. 10 o'clock every night is when they meet, and then they all go back to work. So here's a few clips from the DOGE meetings.
So actually, a lot of great work at the Treasury this week. One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for anything. Yeah. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education, and there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that DOGE made with the Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing so, yes, nobody drew down any money anymore.
Yes, but we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog. Anything. Anything. But as soon as we asked for anything at all, suddenly the requests were like, oh, we don't need it anymore.
That's my favorite segment of that whole. There's other parts of it which are so good, but we didn't even say we're going to look at the receipt. We just said, send us one. Oh, well, I guess we don't need the money anymore. If you're going to ask
Nothing screams fraud like accountability, right? How about this one?
Interesting.
They were renting Caesar's Palace.
Yes, they were like basically partying on the taxpayer money.
Stadiums.
Yes.
Leasing stadiums. For what?
For parties, basically.
For parties.
Yes.
That's a big party.
It's a big party.
You'd think if you were stealing, you'd start small.
They do start small. But then what happens is over the years, so generally the fraud starts out small and they try to hide it. But then year after year, if nobody stops the fraud, it gets more and more brazen. And every year it gets bigger until they're literally renting out stadiums. What's
that, $1 million to rent out a stadium?
Fraud in flagrante delicto. Okay.
We checked, is the Small Business Administration giving loans to dead people over the age of 120? The answer was yes, and it was around $330 million in total. So
people with a birthday that could not possibly be real.
Yeah.
Meaning they're over 100. They're 115 years old or older. The oldest living American is 114. So it's safe to say if anybody is in the system as 115 years or older, that is fake.
So just by sharing a database and looking at Social Security numbers that showed that at the time of the loan, they had listed as over 115 years old, or actually under 11. We didn't even check for under 18.
Babies and dead
under 11 years old. That's pretty clear.
Babies
right?
and dead people who are getting loans.
That was $660 million.
And also people with birth dates in the future.
What does that mean?
Well, in one, I mean, I think the birth date, I think in one case was like
fetuses were getting
no,
loans.
not even. No, really sort of you're talking about like your great grandchildren, like with the birth date, like I think it was like 2165.
One of the I think extreme examples of non-accountability in some cases has occurred at some of the small agencies. I think the Inter-American Foundation, IAF, is one of the agencies we visited where they get $50 million a year, congressional money, to give grants. These are things like alpaca farming in Peru, improving
That's a real example.
Yes, that's the real description. Improving the marketability of peas in Guatemala.
Really?
Fruit jam. And yes.
What? Yeah,
and so you might expect, in the private sector, a nonprofit to give, 80 to 90% of their money to grantees. In the case of IAF, that was 58%.
I just want to stop right there. This young man was attending Harvard. He left Harvard to be a part of.
Oh, you froze.
Okay. This young man left Harvard to be a part of this team. And upon leaving Harvard and joining this team, he has now become public enemy number one at Harvard. He's all of it. I mean, no, his friends have completely turned on him. Even some of his family members have turned on him because he's uncovering fraud, waste, and abuse. And by the way, it is offensive to call it fraud, waste, and abuse. This is theft.
Yeah, right. It goes way beyond that. And as I told you off the air, I feel like a broken record on this topic, but it continues. More and more evidence continues to come out. First, I just want to comment how articulate, how very intelligent this young man, and actually I watched most of this clip, how they come across. These aren't just kids playing video games and then changing the channel to go and take a look at somebody else's private information. They're intelligent enough to understand what they're looking at and report back on it and see the anomalies. And it's laughable. They're talking about fruit and jam and alpacas. This is where taxpayer money is going. And people who are struggling to pay, in my state, close to $5 a gallon for gas are holding signs, anti-Musk signs, because they feel like he's somehow hurting them. When they don't understand is that the reason why things cost as much as they do and are as inefficient as they are is because of the fraud, waste, abuse, and I'll add theft to that these young people are uncovering. And you should be celebrating them.
And the numbers these guys are talking about are some of the small ones. This has been going on for a while now. It's going to continue on for a while. And each day they're finding these $50 million, $300 million, $600 million, anomalies, we'll call them. I'm going to finish this clip out. We'll talk some more at the end of it.
Okay.
So the other half goes towards management, travel.
What we're to find exactly, to Ethan's example is that even if you agreed with supporting alpaca farmers in Peru, actually most of the money never made it out of DC. Mm-hmm. It's going into the pockets of people in the neighborhood.
What percentage
didn't even get to Peru?
Right. So what percentage do you think doesn't even get to the destination it's supposed to?
I believe the GAO estimate, so this is not our estimate, I believe it was on the order of only 10 to 15 cents on the dollar actually gets to the end recipient, whether you agree with that cause or not.
So they're just stealing the money before it even gets anywhere.
There's layers of stealing. So there's the first layer of stealing, second layer of stealing, third layer of stealing.
Subcontractor,
You start peeling the onion. Yeah,
subcontractor.
exactly. Contractor, subcontractor. It's like peeling an onion. And then and sometimes it's zero. Just flat, you get to the bottom of the onion, there's nothing there.
It's layers upon layers upon layers of theft.
I mean, I guess when this first started coming out, we talked about this. We talked about intuitively you knew this kind of stuff was going on. Right, but when you see it in front of your face and you hear the numbers and you hear the programs, it is sickening. And there are thousands of these programs that have been going on, and none of them are real. They're all just ways to do kickbacks. And I just saw something the other day. Adam Schiff bought a $17 million home. How does a man making $174,000 a year own a $17 million home? It's not possible.
Book deals. I
Yeah,
mean, he's written a book or two. Yeah. Well, we know that is one of the biggest threats, is to cut off USAID, to cut the executive branch spending, and to force accountability is absolutely going to expose a lot of villains. But I know broken record on this topic, but I will just say once again, thank God for these people.
Yeah, just to make it clear, this is no longer talking about USAID money. This is a completely separate pot of money that they're stealing from us. USAID already uncovered several $billion. This is a whole different pot of money. This is actually congressionally funded dollars.
Yeah, the fact that somebody could draw down on an account without any accountability is shocking. Like, I couldn't do that at work. You couldn't do that at home. Could you imagine you and Mrs. John?
You want to see another clip?
Okay. You forced me. Do it.
No, you just bring this from the here.
Just
go.
Do it.
Generally,
go for it.
Like these programs, these grants are going to be like along the lines of save the baby pandas. And it's like, well, of course, who wouldn't want to save the baby pandas? And in some cases, they've got a show panda, which they will trot out for special occasions. In a lot of cases, they don't even have a show panda.
No panda.
There's not even one panda, because we asked for pictures, and we don't even get one panda. And it's like, well, that's a lot. What does $1 billion get you? Does it not even get you one panda?
You really want to see a baby panda?
Yeah, like the Ebola money. We're like, okay, well, we agree with, we shouldn't have Ebola, Where is the money going? Oh, it's going to Deloitte in DC. Like, what is an accounting firm doing with Ebola money?
I want to see a baby panda. I paid for it. I want to see it. And
this is correct, Marie. That's what they said, that the Department of Education was the stadium parties that they were doing. And the thing is that these, when they talk about these bills that they're passing in Congress, and they say, I want a clean bill, but they can never get a clean bill, they're always attached with all of these little, cookie cutter, writers and what have you. This is where that money's going. I've got one final video for this week.
Been the biggest resistance? Is there one agency, is there one department that when you guys walk in, they all start fighting you?
A small agency called the United States Institute of Peace. It's definitely the agency we had the most fight at. We actually went into the agency and found that they had loaded guns inside of their headquarters. Institute for Peace.
I mean, any given company, any given organizational name is going to be kind of be the opposite of the title.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was by far the least peaceful agency that we've worked with, ironically.
Of course.
Additionally, we found that they were spending money on things like private jets, and they even had a $130,000 contract with a former member of the Taliban. This is real. We don't encounter that at most agencies.
Yeah.
What was the money going to the Taliban for?
So as a contractor, they received $130,000 for generic services. And to Elon's point, there was not actually a clear description of what the contractor services were for.
Oh, yeah. So try to hide the evidence.
Right. So just a few hours after we got into their headquarters, we found that their chief accountant had actually deleted over 1 terabyte of accounting records from several years. So you'd have to ask the question, well, why would somebody do that? The DOGE team, fortunately, was able to recover that data with the help of a few great employees at the Institute of Peace. And I think the most troubling thing was they received $55 million a year from Congress, and any money that went unspent, instead of returning that to Congress, they would sweep it into a private bank account, which had no congressional oversight. And that's what they would use to fund things like events at their headquarters and the private jets. And so I think it's a great example because most Americans don't know what's going on at a lot of these smaller agencies. And this is, I think, the most extreme case of some of the wasteful spend that we're finding.
Unreal. Yeah, Department of Peace. $175. Wow, generous.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the Institute of Peace. So they said they found loaded guns. What they found was an entire armory filled with some very advanced weapons, some very just lots of guns, lots of ammo, lots of things that a Institute of Peace wouldn't generally, I think, need. There are allegations, and I'm going to leave it at that, allegations that the Institute of Peace is actually a front group for the CIA. And it's not just John saying this. It's not just hyperbole. There are many very credible people that are saying that. And when the DOGE team went to the Institute of Peace, they were blockaded from getting inside. It took the Capitol Police to actually let them in, and that took several days to make that happen. Court orders and what have you. And you heard him when they got there. There were a terabyte of data removed from the system that they were able to reestablish and reinstitute. But
yeah, I mean, the reason they were being blockaded is so they give a little bit of time to destroy the evidence. I mean, that was clear. And you know, we said this earlier, like there's been billions upon billions. If you go look at the national debt clock, there's the DOGE. How much have we reclaimed, right? It's a couple $100 billion at this point. But even when you just listen to some of these, like, oh, it's 30 million here and 50 million there and 70 million here. And then I just think about, like, that's a lot of millions. It's a lot of money. When you add all that up and you say, okay, we no longer need to spend these millions on alpaca and jam and some of the other things that got brought up, or stadiums, renting stadiums out for the Department of Education for whatever reason they're going to do that. And now people talk about healthcare. I want to be able to have affordable insurance. Or you talk about even socialized medicine. I would like to make it possible for every child in the U.S. to go see the doctor without having to incur any medical bills for the family. Or wait, let me go one step further. I would like to make it possible for college-age students to go and study a trade or go to university without having to pay money for the first couple of years of their college experience. Like, you're talking about hundreds of millions and now billions of dollars that you could redirect. If you still want to spend the money, peace, you could redirect it to those programs you're so passionate about.
No, peace. We don't have that money. That's the problem. You know as well as I do. We do not have that money. And so redirecting that money doesn't help the matter of we're overspent. And I get it. I mean, listen, there are a lot of things that if you're going to waste money, let's waste it on something at least that's good for the country. But we don't have that money, and we're in a deep load of, you know what?
Agreed.
I'm great that we do a team there that some of these were saying that every single one of them have received death threats. They go back to their hometowns and people know that they're on the DOGE team, especially now that they're on TV. They know that they're on the DOGE team and people are pissed. And why? You know, it's like I think Rudy said, why are they pissed off that they're finding the waste of our tax dollars? That's our money.
I'm going to correct myself. I had to go look. It's $394 billion is how much that DOGE has uncovered and is saving us from spending, which, you know, when we talk about $1 trillion budgets and $36.5 trillion worth of national debt, or $36.8 trillion of the national debt, saying $400 billion doesn't sound like a lot, but I'll go back to it again. If we had the money, $400 billion could easily pay for every person of college age who wants to go learn to be an electrician or go on to become a doctor, could pay the way and fortify this country with technically capable and trained young workforce. Incredible. Instead of wasting it on, you know, whatever. Unbelievable that our values are in the wrong place.
It goes back to the video we played months ago of the subway system over in Russia. You know, you've got this absolutely gorgeous subway system in Russia.
Beautiful.
And it's because they're not doing with their taxpayer money what we do with ours. I've got a video too long to play. I'll probably put it up as a short or later on in the week. But Benny Johnson goes into Los Angeles and he just starts driving around town and looking at all of the homelessness there. Now, California has two distinctions. We have several distinctions, but two distinctions around the homelessness. One is that they've spent more money than any other state in the union on the homelessness problem. And two, they have the worst homelessness problem, and it's getting worse in the United States. So I want to play that video. I'll just do a short sometime during the week. Be looking for it. Hopefully, if you've got your alerts on, and when we post something, you get a notice. Hopefully, you'll get that notice, and you'll be able to take a look at that later. But I think it's 15.
Yeah, John, just on that note, because I was trying to remember the dollar amount, but so I just looked it up just to be sure. $24 billion, California, $24 billion on homelessness and housing initiatives between 2019 through 2024. That is $160,000, $160,000 per homeless person in California. I'm just saying, take the money. If you're going to spend the money, which by the way, California doesn't have it either, but let's just say, you know what, we're going to go into this horrendous debt to solve this problem. Like, it's worth it. Okay, fine. Take that big bag of cash, bring in a think group of people that are really smart and very capable, and let them run it and actually get some work done. And you probably don't need $24 billion. It'll probably turn out you need a whole lot less. But do not give this to the bureaucrats to run, because now the homeless problem is worse than ever and the money's missing. And the taxpayers in California are still on the hook for it. So that's my take.
Well, the good news is that guy won't be around much longer. That guy meaning our good friend.
No, he will not be.
Gavin Newsom.
Gruesome Newsom.
So we had a segment that we were going to do tonight. Again, it's going to go long because we really went long on the Muslim thing, and I think it needed to. But there's another segment we're going to probably push out till Wednesday, and that is we're getting closer to arrests. I know we've been talking about this, but they're actually coming out with some really interesting documents now. Ilhan Omar is in the hot seat in such a big way. One, there are receipts, there's affidavits, there's eviction notices. She is married or did marry her brother so that she could get him into the country. It's documented. There's also tax fraud information out there. There's perjury, bigamy, incest, kickbacks, campaign finance abuse. All of these things are coming to the fore on her. She also has homes in Boston, Washington, New York, and Chicago. How does somebody in Congress make that much money that she can own that many houses? She also, are you ready for this? She comes from Somalia, and she has campaigned in Somalia, not just in the U.S. for Somalia, but she's campaigned in Somalia to raise money so that she could further her campaign here in the U.S. Again, campaign finance laws. Look it up. That's not okay. She campaigned there, and part of her campaign, the person hosting it said that she is in the United States to support Somalia, not the state not support the state that she's been elected in.
Yeah, well, from humble beginnings, she had to do what she had to do, and now she's a multimillionaire and on her way to bigger and better things. I'm not sure what. All I know is she's a despicable person who every time she talks, just like Joy Reid used to say, right? And Sunny, I can't even think of her last name now.
Austin.
Yeah, everybody's a racist. Everything is about, race and color. And it's so nauseating to listen to her. And I know we're not playing the clip tonight, but just recently where she was heard once again saying, we should be paying attention to white people. They commit all these violent crimes. And I'm like, how does that advance any cause that we could all collaborate around? It doesn't. All it does is create more division. And there's got to be a reason why you want division in our country. There's got to be a reason why.
So look at your bingo cards. Look for Ilhan Omar. The other one I want you to look for is Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff. Apparently, our records. Adam Schiff is facing explosive allegations of mortgage fraud, voter fraud, election misconduct spanning nearly 20 years. Bombshell report by Chris Bish and Darren Ellis reveals that Schiff declared his Maryland home as his primary residence since 2003. How can that be? He's a California representative. Shock records show that Adam Schiff financed $1.7 million Maryland home as his principal residence.
When? Well, actually, he's been in California forever. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Point is, he can't have that as his primary residence if he's going to go ahead and be elected. He's going to call California his home for how many years? Decades. So there's clearly something there. These are the same people. Yeah, these are the same people that said that a bank who lent money to Trump, or Trump said, I think it's worth this much. The bank said, we're going to do our own, and we'll decide what it's worth. We'll do our own appraisal, and we'll lend based on our appraisal. They did. They lent the money, and the money was paid back as expected, and everything was good. The same people that said that was fraudulent, and initially won a case against Trump, and initially Letitia James, who was just all over Twitter, just banging the drums and celebrating how this massive fine against Trump. The same people that have committed worse. These are actual fraud. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the arrests.
Okay, so those are coming up. So check your bingo cards for that. On another note, not an arrest, but some interesting news here. This is big news. Former LA Sheriff Alex Villanueva made an announcement today.
As of today, and if you have cameras, get them rolling. Share this on social media. As of today, I'm leaving the party of paid protests, purple hair, and pronouns. I'm joining the party of faith, family, and freedom.
Okay, if you couldn't hear it, he says he's leaving the party of purple hair, paid protests, and pronouns. And he's joining the party of faith and I forget what else. Sorry. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing that he made that announcement. First of all, so I'm leaving the party of hate, protest, purple hair, and pronouns, and I'm joining the party of faith, family, and freedom, is what he said. I was
common sense.
I was shocked. Here's another quick hit video for you. You're gonna love this because I sure did. Do you remember when we heard that Tulsi Gabbard was put on wasn't the no-fly list, but she was being every time that she went to go fly, the TSA had to double check her bags. They had to check her.
Pull her aside, go through everything. Yeah, she was on that list.
Yeah, so she was on that list, and now she's the director of national intelligence, right?
About Russia briefly. You and I have talked before about how Hillary Clinton labeled you a puppet of Putin, a Russian asset. Debbie Wasserman Schultz shamefully said the same. And I saw recently President Trump withdrew Hillary Clinton's security clearance, which you had to do.
Yes.
I mean, that must have been a little fun. Right? Or just a little fun.
I smiled.
Of course you did. You're only human.
Yeah, I am.
So yeah, that's over for her.
And a number of other people, by the way, when you look at the 51
Mark Zaid, I love that.
Intelligence officials who signed that Hunter Biden disinformation letter and never apologized for it, never held themselves accountable for it. Yes, Mark Zaid, you had Letitia James and
Why
others.
did she even have one?
Well, some of them didn't have clearances, but they had access to classified information, and so we took away that access for those
Alvin Bragg
who didn't have clearances. Yes.
Okay.
And there are more to come, and this is part of what we're doing in our investigative work as we go back and look, for example, at Crossfire Hurricane and how there were assistant U.S. attorneys who were knowingly using manufactured testimony, that they would interview a witness, for example, and know that the witness was lying to them, either because they set up the lie or they knew that the witness was lying, took that lie and used it as evidence to get a warrant under FISA to go and surveil on Americans, which is completely illegal. And so these are the kinds of things, those types of people, those assistant U.S. attorneys or those FBI agents that were involved in this kind of stuff, these are crimes that need to be prosecuted, and these people need to be held accountable.
Will that happen?
That will happen.
That will happen.
That was good news.
Boom.
Wasn't that good
happen.
news?
That was great. I love that. She didn't say these were wrongdoings or they stretched the limits of their office. She said these were criminal actions. These were illegal actions. I love that. That's what we need. We need some
I
real
love
action.
the Sweet Justice that she was actually the one, because it was because of Hillary and Kamala that she lost that ability to fly without all of the hoopla.
Well, scrutiny. Yeah, it's BS.
Yeah.
And she's so professional about it. I might have smiled. I smiled. I mean, it's a tough one, right? Of course she was like, heck yeah, Hillary, check, you're off the list.
Yeah, right.
Alvin Bragg.
Right.
What the heck why did he have access to anything? I know the answer. It's so he could do whatever he needed to do with Trump, but still. All right, go ahead.
I've got
You
a
wanted to
couple
say something.
quick ones. No, I just got a couple quick ones, and then we're going
I just want to share one quick thing. This is
please.
It breaks things up just a tiny bit, but apparently we have a new pope. I just wanted to share that with you.
It looks like Cheetos right there.
I
People
thought that
might
was
not
funny.
know. That
All
was
right.
the David sarcasm where people there was somebody that put out an AI version of Trump as the Pope, and so that's where this came from.
That's where that came
I
from. That's
originally
orange
thought it was Trump because he was embracing it because it was funny. But
right. And that's what
by the way,
CNN said, by the way.
In breaking news, Donald Trump did say that he is not even remotely looking at a third term. All of that was in fun. It was in jest, just to try to poke the bear a little bit, and it worked. But he's not. But he did come out, and we'll talk about this in an upcoming show. He did come out and give us a couple of hints at who he would like to see as his successor for president. Now, this clip, you're going to have to listen closely because he drops a great big bomb in this one. And I just want you to see if you catch it. You ready?
I'm ready.
We have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration, as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking.
They have ended HHS as the principal vector for child trafficking. HHS.
Why would they ever be the principal vector for that? Why would it ever fall into their purview? I don't understand that at all. Who knew that?
I mean, first of all, what let's put this into terms that, I don't know, everybody can understand. The US government should not be trafficking children. That they're not saying that that HHS was stopping it or that they were in charge of it. No.
Oh, that's true.
He comes back out and says that they were involved in it. That's bad. Now, give me the names.
Yeah,
Right?
I wasn't thinking about it from that perspective. I was thinking from the perspective of who's responsible for knowing who these people are, where they are, where did they go, who are they connected to? I'm like, why would HHS be involved in that at all? It's not their. But your point of view is actually way different, which is that they might have been not stopping it, promoting it. Allowing it to happen. I don't know. That's a pretty sinister point of view, but
Sinister, but that's what's being uncovered, David, is all of the sinister stuff that's out there. I've got another one, and then we can go to our closing.
I have one too. I thought this was fun, so this one's not going to be alarmist. No one's going to lose their mind over this one, I don't think.
Okay, so why don't you play yours first, and then we'll lose our mind over mine.
Okay, mine's fun. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, this is what you can do with AI. I just thought it was fun. Had videos, and I thought these were just remarkable. All right, I'll stop it there. But
That's pretty awesome.
AI for the win right there. Go ahead, John.
All right. So again, let's listen closely to what our friend down in Florida has to say.
We have both a National Guard and a State Guard who are used to responding to different types of contingencies. We're ready, willing, and able to take it to the next level. We have submitted plans to DHS to say, if this is approved, we will go off to the races, and we will be able to do really from soup to nuts, from apprehension to detention, even putting some of our people in the National Guard in line to serve as immigration judges to process this. We can do it. And I'd also say, you hear a lot about due process. We have tens of thousands of illegal aliens in Florida at a minimum that have already been issued final orders of removal. And there's hundreds of thousands of them throughout the United States of America. So they've had a lot of process. They've been ordered to be removed. They have not complied with those removal orders. And that's a very, very high priority for our state efforts to continue to identify those individuals and make sure that they're returned to their country of origin.
Okay, so just to recap, DeSantis has issued plans to Trump's DHS that would allow Florida National Guard members to serve as immigration judges. That's something.
I love that guy. I know he's not perfect. I know there were some things in the past around the election cycle that caused everyone to pause for a second, but I'm saying I love DeSantis. That guy, he knows how to solve problems.
Now, just to be clear, we're not just going to take your frontline army guy and say, go ahead and be a judge. The military has their own judicial system. They have lawyers, they have judges, and it's based on U.S. law with a military bent. So it's not as though these people don't understand the law. They're not just going to go out there and make up their own laws.
Exactly.
No, that's not what it is. And again, it still has to be approved. But I think that this is thinking out of the box. You want some due process? Guess what? We'll give it to you. And now watch their heads spin, because they will.
Yeah. I mean, but again, and just like, when you want to solve a problem and you have the resources, you find a way to do it. And DeSantis over and over and over again, he's like, that's a problem. Okay. We have the right people that are qualified, that are professionals that can solve this. And I absolutely love it. I got one last one. Apparently, the Antarctic is now has more ice than it's had in the last, I don't know how many years. And so this video it's a quick video here just to kind of highlight the fact that the ice is growing. It's not shrinking. So they're saying we're not seeing, and I'm going to mute the music in case we get a strike, but what they're saying is that there's actually more ice now than they've had in a long, long time. Sorry, I don't know how long a long time is. Could be a decade, could be longer. But they're saying the ice shelf is growing. And, of course, we talk about climate change and global warming, and there's all kinds of ways to talk about this. But if we're thinking the planet is getting warmer and the ice is melting, they're saying, actually, we've measured, and it's actually, it's growing again. So you can't have both. I
think we should check on Greta Thunberg and Al Gore, because their heads are exploding right now.
Yeah, probably. All right, that's it for me, John. I'm saving all the stuff on a rest for Wednesday or for Sunday, whenever we want to go through all of that. Lots of fun stuff.
I just wanted to check with you on the air, as we are, David. Next Sunday is Mother's Day. And so I'm thinking that we should do a special pre-recorded event, because although Mrs. John is not my mother, she is the mother of our children. And so I'd like to spend some time with her and honor her on that day. I'm not sure how many of you folks are going to be watching us on Mother's Day. And if that's the case, we'll have something for you here. But I think it'd be best to honor them in the way that they should be honored. How about that?
Mrs. David hinted at it earlier today without saying it. So yes, let's tell you what. Let's pre-record something and then we'll do something fun.
Sounds great. And so for Wednesday, we will talk about those arrests. There are more data points coming in about the arrests. Again, keep those bingo cards brushed up, and let's see if we can't get a bingo, at least get started here pretty soon.
Woohoo.
How's that sound? All right. Thanks, guys. Hey, it's been a fun one. Again, tons and tons. I can't tell you how many things we've actually left on the board tonight to cover, but we will get to them, and we will be looking to post a lot of this stuff onto our social media. If you're not already following us on our X account and our Facebook account, it is Just Our Take on both of those spots. So give us a follow, and we will be posting things there. We'll also be posting more of the shorts on our Rumble channel. So thanks for being with us tonight. Hope you guys have a fantastic start to your week tomorrow. Dave, I hope that it goes smooth getting into your home.
Thanks. It's getting there, John. It's getting there. We're only a few weeks away from it feeling like normal. We're almost there.
There you go. Well, knowing what we're talking about lately in the last few weeks, take a look at this video with a different eye.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? The sweet emotion raining all over me.
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again.
American rock and roll.